Hi ladies and gentlemen, I'm Dr. Zyrowski from newvisionexcel.com, and today I want to share with you some of the different pro tips that I've learned when it comes to intermittent fasting over the past several years. You know, it's probably been about 4 years or so since I wrote one of my first articles on intermittent fasting, and it's something that I've just kept in as part of my lifestyle for a long period of time because it really helps with not having to focus so much on calories in and calories out, and you're able to stay really lean while doing intermittent fasting without so much effort. And so it's a strategy that I use and really appreciate in my life, and I think that, you know, it's something that you're going to benefit greatly from. I did a whole video on the benefits of intermittent fasting, so check that out if you haven't seen it yet. But from this perspective, I want to share with you all the little tips that I've learned. Now, you know, just not to impress you, but to impress upon you. You know, for me, I am an athlete. I played college hockey. I still compete and work out at a very high level today. I compete in like Spartan races. I lift, I run. The reason I tell you that is to just kind of impress upon you that when I talk about these different things, I'm actually doing them. It's not just theory. You know, I'm a clinician as well. I'm working with patients in a clinical setting. So, you know, I kind of see how people who have, you know, different health problems react to some of these different fasts, like intermittent fasting, and then people who are athletes. And so I want to share with you the different tips that I've learned over the years that have made intermittent fasting so much easier. Because let me tell you, if you're doing intermittent fasting and you're being like really, you know, you're having a hard time with it and it's a burden to you, then you've already failed at it. You can't do it long term if it's just burdening you on a daily basis. So let's jump into some of these tips. The first tip is that don't be incredibly strict with intermittent fasting, okay? So on average, people will fast 18 hours and they'll go and consume, or sorry, they'll fast 16 hours and they'll consume their meals within that 8-hour window. That's kind of the, you know, the typical intermittent fasting window. However, it can change a little bit. You know, some days, for some reason, if you have to eat your first meal earlier, then, you know, that's fine. Eat your first meal earlier. If your last meal has to be later, then eat it later. That's fine. Don't be so crazy strict with it that you can't even keep up with it. So instead of doing maybe, you know, 16 and 8, you do 18 and 6, or, you know, whatever fits you for that day, just do the best you can with it. Don't be so strict that it just drives you to failure. So for me, I like to push my first meal back as far as I can. So, you know, if I can have my first meal at noon, then that's typically what I'll do. So that's one of my tips, is push your first meal back as far as you can. However, you know, if you have to have it earlier because that's the only opportunity you get to eat, then that's fine. So don't be crazy strict about the eating window. Yes, you need to, you know, have a smaller eating window, otherwise you're not doing intermittent fasting. And, you know, that wouldn't be intermittent fasting at all if you're not eating within, you know, a 8-hour window or a, you know, 9-hour window or whatever the case is. So you need to make sure that you're keeping your eating window small. However, don't be crazy strict with it. Shift according to your day, according to your lifestyle. The next big trick or tip I can give you is when it comes to coffee. First of all, you're going to drink black coffee, okay? So when you're going to do intermittent fasting, black coffee is just the best way to go. So when you have your first coffee, don't drink your first coffee first thing in the morning. What I would recommend is, instead of waking up and drinking your black coffee, I would recommend pushing that back 2 to 3 hours. And the reason for that is because, you know what, then you can usually wake up and not find yourself hungry right off the bat. And then, you know, 2 to 3 hours in, you start to get hungry, drink that coffee. That coffee will blunt your appetite, which is the key. The black coffee blunts your appetite, and then from there, after that black coffee, you can go ahead and have your meal a couple hours after that, and it's not that big of a deal. Now, before the black coffee, one of the things that blunts your appetite as well is drinking like a Pellegrino water, a sparkling water that, you know, it's good because it's a great mineral water, but it's also good because it helps blunt your appetite. That's another trick that I use. So don't drink your coffee first thing in the morning, push it back a couple hours, and then, you know, first thing in the morning when you wake up, you can drink some sparkling water, and that will help satiate you so that you're not hungry in the morning as well. The best time to work out, that's what we need to discuss. So when you are doing intermittent fasting, the best time to work out is going to be after you have your coffee. So let's say it's first thing in the morning, you wait a couple hours after you wake up, you have your coffee. After you have your coffee, it kind of gives you that boost, go do your workout. That's the best time to work out, because the research shows that people who had the biggest spikes in human growth hormone were people who actually worked out prior to that first meal. But if you don't have that coffee prior to the workout, you can go in there and just drag quite a bit. And it's really, I personally find that if I don't have that coffee before the workout and I'm in a fasted state, I just don't have a lot of energy. I don't have a lot of power. So that's another thing, that's important to know, is after that first coffee, do your workout. And then the research shows you're going to get the most benefit from the intermittent fasting if you do that workout prior to your first meal. The next big tip is that when you're in that eating window, that you're feeding your body, okay? So intermittent fasting is not about calorie restriction. It's not about starving yourself. It's simply about taking all your meals and eating it within an 8-hour window. And so when you are doing the intermittent fasting, make sure that you're actually getting proper calorie intake, okay? Don't try to starve yourself because you're trying to lose weight or whatever the case is. Make sure that you're getting the proper amount of fats, the proper amount of proteins, proper amount of carbs. I personally just eat until I'm full. Like I watch what I eat, of course, and you should be on a good quality diet when you're doing intermittent fasting. You don't want to be eating junk. It's never good to, be in that fasted state and then go in and start eating a whole bunch of sugar and complete garbage. Follow the Heal Yourself cookbook. One of the things that people love is the Total Nutrition Makeover Plan that we do. We have a ton of people who participate in the Total Nutrition Makeover Plan, and I teach people how to go in and just totally change their lifestyle as far as the way that they're eating, because most people aren't eating a high quality diet at all. So you want to make sure that you're eating a high quality diet with tons of fats and protein and carbs, and staying away from all the bad stuff. And so eat until you're full. I mean, I don't, when it comes to watching my calorie intake, that's not even something that's on my mind. I do intermittent fasting and then I eat as much as I want during that time. What I prefer to do when it comes to eating within the window is I like to have 2 small meals and then 1 huge meal. And so the reason that the 2 small meals and then the huge meal is because when you have a really big meal, it activates your parasympathetics, and that's like your rest and digest. So, I don't want to go into, lunchtime, go right around noon and have some massive meal. And simply just because if I do that, I'm going to be all dragging and tired, and that's kind of counteracting the whole positive effects of intermittent fasting. Because when you're doing intermittent fasting, people find that they have more focus, more clarity, more mental concentration. So you want to stay alert all day, and one of the ways that you do that is by having a small meal around noon. I'll have maybe a small meal sometime around 3 o'clock or so, and I'm not talking even a meal. I mean, I call it a meal, but more of just like a snack of some sort. And then for dinner, I'll have a massive dinner. And when you have that massive dinner, it activates your parasympathetics, which is great because you're going to sleep pretty soon anyway. So anyway, those are some of the pro tips that I have to offer you when it comes to intermittent fasting. Like I said, I love it in order to stay lean. I love it in order to, help with muscle growth and keeping lean at the same time. And it has tons of healing benefits as well. It boosts that human growth hormone, sky high. It lowers the insulin. It decreases inflammation. Check out that other video because that's all the things I talked about, all the different benefits of it. Implement these different tricks in your life, and I believe that it's going to make intermittent fasting much easier for you, because once again, if it's a burden to you to do intermittent fasting, then you already failed. So good luck with this, and post in the comments below if you have any questions. Until next time, we'll see you then.